Hello, this is Father Louis SCURTI, and I'm introducing a different concept to our ministry today. And I am meeting with Bob Shanahan, whom you might know because he's very involved with our board of trustees for Friends of the Word. But we're here at this church, the Shrine Chapel of the Blessed Sacrament, here in Raritan, New Jersey, and it's my first visit to Raritan, with these gentlemen who are part of the men's group. So that's all I'm going to introduce, and let's see what they have to say. Okay, Bob, the men's group, how did this start?
Well, it's like all good things that start out of an Italian bakery. After Mass, we walked less than a block away to the Italian bakery, and we would all show up, and we started talking to each other. We became friends, and it seemed like the logical thing to do because we all wanted to. We all found a common denominator here was that we're all cradle Catholics. We were poorly catechized, and we're hearing about all these things that are part of the church, which we're very interested in, and we wanted an opportunity to meet and talk. So we started on that basis. And we met like that very informally for about 2-3 years. And then about a year ago, the bishop wanted to get men's clubs organized in all the diocesan churches. So we held a men's group meeting at a local church in Hillsborough, and it was done by deanery, so it was broken up in different parts. And we met with people that passed out that book there, No Man Left Behind, and it talks about why there should be men's groups, how to do them, and keep them going. We kind of went into that. It's very important that these groups be established because we know statistically that if the husband does not go to church, children will not. Even if mom goes to church every week with them, if the father does not go to church, statistically the children will not. And there's a lot of other issues too that come out of it, like about 80% of all the prisoners in American prisons are male, and about 60% of those grew up in a home without a dad. Tells you something there. That the males are very, very important. I'm not saying females are not. Please don't go there. This is because you're a men's group. We're not the He-Man Woman Haters Club. Women have a great role to play. Men are slightly different here, and we've got to figure out why our society is going negatively, and it's got to be focused on the man.
Okay, we're gonna continue that. Let's check out this group. What year was that when you first organized?
2021, I think, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Around COVID,
right.
All that stuff.
Right.
And how did you two get involved? Introduce yourselves. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I'm Jeff Grant. I've been coming to the shrine since 2020.
Okay, stop right there. The shrine. You want to know what that is. Talk about the shrine. What is the shrine?
Well, the shrine it was established to honor the Blessed Mother, and there's the statue of the Blessed Mother is out front with the 3 children from her appearance in Portugal. Yes. And the shrine is here to honor her and give everyone an opportunity to seek her guidance and seek her intervention through Jesus Christ and the Lord. As part of that, they have Latin masses here.
Okay, so that's unique to this particular
shrine.
Shrine. Okay, in this town in Raritan, how many churches are there, as far as you know?
Well, we've got St. Joe's, we got St. Anne's, Catholic. We got the Shrine, Trinity, which is just outside of town. I think it's technically in Bridgewater. But it's all handled by the Oratory, which is a group of priests that live here permanently in the St. Anne's Rectory. There's like 6 of them there, and they sharing masses and taking care of the community. So they're here forever. I mean, it's not like they move from church to church.
This is their parish.
This is their
all
parish,
the churches.
and they serve these churches.
Yeah.
So out of all these churches, the Shrine wound up becoming one where they had Latin masses for whatever reason, I don't know. But the attraction for me was not that I really understood it at the time, but I was looking for something outside of the Novus Ordo world. And
Explain that to our audience. Novus Ordo.
Novus Ordo, which is the current, I guess, post 1967 Vatican Council II
Right.
Mass.
It really means new order.
New order, right? So where I live in Montgomery Township, New Jersey, I used to take my mother to church in East Millstone. I used to go to St. Charles of Borromeo in Montgomery, and I found the priests there were very political and very socially oriented to whatever the order of the day was, woke, Black Lives Matter, you name it. And instead of going and learning about the teachings of Christ and Scripture, and
So this was a Catholic
today,
parish in which the priests who served there had their own, it seems, political agenda.
sociological and political agenda,
Okay.
both.
Okay. Interesting.
And some of the themes that I had to endure, and you know, I'm one of these people that I do speak up, I do stand up. Some of the themes I had to endure were, you know, lectures on we should let illegal aliens into the country
During Mass.
during Mass for the homily.
Okay.
Let them into the country and give them citizenship. Okay. You know, other examples were, you know, the plight of Black Lives Matter. You know, Black Lives Matter.
So you were uncomfortable with using the liturgy as a political forum.
Yeah,
And this-
yeah. The priests had a captive audience, and they were manipulating them and
interesting.
pandering to these ideologies that, to me, are really destructive to our country and to our society.
Okay.
I mean, you know, the obvious conclusion of Black Lives Matter is to the every extent that you want to enhance Black lives, you're actually diminishing every other life.
If that's the, yeah.
And I walked out of homilies, you know, and you know. Had to endure praying to Mother Earth because, you know, we live in this world of Gia is the leader and whatever. And it's very, very strange to me to see that happening because I know what it means. And what it means is you take these small changes in the church, and over time these small changes get amplified over time. They get built upon like viruses in the mind, and the whole church winds up becoming bastardized.
Okay, so that wasn't your philosophy, and that wasn't the direction you wanted to move in.
Not only my direction, but it's a bastardization of Catholicism.
From that particular parish.
Yes.
Interesting.
So full circle back to, you know, the traditional Latin Mass, going back to tradition, the fundamentals of what Catholicism is supposed to be, and not that I know what Catholicism is supposed to be. I'm learning more as an adult,
Good.
having raised
Good.
my kids,
Good.
learning more
Good.
about the faith and what it means than I ever knew. So it's kind of interesting to start to revisit it as an adult, as someone that's been educated and, you know, lived around the world. So,
And from that parish, how did you get involved here?
well, just happened to be talking to a friend of mine, explaining to him how he's Catholic as well, how I was so disappointed in the Catholic Church, the new Novus Ordo Catholic Church. And he goes, "Hey, why don't you try Latin Mass?" So, and I was almost a hair's breadth away from just giving up on Catholicism altogether.
That's pretty sad.
And as it was, well, but it has kind of a happy ending. I know John, I know Bob, I know you, Father. So, but I just on a lark looked up Latin Mass, you know, online, found the Shrine Chapel. I showed up one day, recognized Frank Bruno, who was the county surrogate, who I knew through politics. And he introduced me to people, you know, very, very gregarious guy introduced me to this person, that person, and I happened to have the tremendous misfortune of meeting this person and other friends he has had. and I rue the day, but I'm happy, very happy. Good. So that's
so the issue isn't the order, the Mass, the order of the Mass. The issue is the philosophy in this particular church that pushed you out of that parish into a different environment. We'll talk about this environment. So Latin isn't the issue. It's the whole philosophy and theology of the parish, I think, we're talking about.
Well, it's the spirituality of it. I mean, you feel spirituality when you go to the Latin Mass.
Well, no, do you think it's the spirituality is unique to the Latin Mass that we're talking about? The spirituality away from the politicization of the church?
Well, it's the environment to start off with. I mean, you would go into the chapel, no one speaks to each other, you're looking at the altar.
Is that a good or a bad?
It's a good thing. You have a chance to focus on...
That's quiet.
You get a chance to focus on your faith and having a conversation with
Okay.
yourself, with God, versus the new order where there's music and singing and people are looking and talking and chatting and so.
Okay, now
So it's very very different to begin with.
Bob and I met at campus ministry at William Patterson years ago, and that talking and singing and relating to each other is very familiar to us.
Right.
Okay, and that was part of the core that helped the students to bond and communicate with each other and with their faith in a more outstanding way, an active way, which took the faith out of the church, that the chapel in our case, into the community.
It can help. It can help. For me, it's just I want to go there. I want to
Okay, so you want to
meditate.
so
I want to
just me and
meditate. I want
God.
to focus on
Okay.
what the readings are. Listen to the homily. Usually, if it's a good homily, usually the last sentence that the priest says, wraps up the entire homily in one sentence. What I appreciate how they write the homilies, where you can take, a 10-minute or 15-minute talk, and then the last sentence encapsulates the entire thing. And I can actually keep a record of them.
Good.
when I go.
You wouldn't like my homilies because I don't keep notes. I don't prepare notes. I read my scriptures. I read my commentaries, and then the Holy Spirit takes over.
Well, not every priest does a homily where it's worth writing the last sentence. So, Father Jeff.
Well, in my case, I'll give my pen.
Father Jeff, but I'd have to summarize yours and encapsulate it myself. But Father Jeff will typically, Father Derek typically finishes, Father Peter, when he said Mass, would typically finish with a sentence that if you remember that sentence, you'd have a good idea what the entire homily
That's
is
a
about.
good experience of homily and liturgy. It's a great way to come away from it.
Right.
John, how did you get involved with this group?
So I've actually been coming to the shrine since it was initially founded. Goes back a while, to the late 1980s, I believe, when the diocese decided to build a new church, and the parish that used to reside here was called St. Bernard of Clairvaux, and they moved to the new church, and so then the bishop at the time, I forget his name, designated this as the Eucharistic shrine for the diocese.
Oh, okay.
So I'm a cradle Catholic. I've always been very interested in the faith and drawn to more traditional aspects of the expression of the faith. So I remember probably in the late 80s, early 90s, when I was in my 20s, finding out about the shrine. And they had Eucharistic adoration as they do now. So coming here for Eucharistic adoration. They also had the Novus Ordo, which was very reverently celebrated. And that drew me here. They had an order of priests, a Spanish order of priests. I forget the name exactly. The Society of Jesus Christ Priest, maybe. Anyway, they were very devout in the way they celebrated the liturgy, both the Novus Ordo, and then eventually they also celebrated the Latin Mass. But I remember in the late 80s, with the first indult from Rome, they had the Latin Mass here 2 Sundays a month. So I would occasionally come here just to attend the Latin Mass. There weren't that many back then in those years. So I remember coming here again 2 Sundays a month for the Latin Mass, but even for the Novus Ordo, which is so beautifully and reverently celebrated, as Jeff alluded to. We a lot of us have a desire for that reverence and quietness and those more traditional aspects of the liturgy. So I've been coming here a long time. I'm one of these Roman Catholics. I jump around. I even jumped around to the Byzantine Rite churches. But right after COVID, I decided to come back here. I hadn't been here to a Latin Mass, and I heard the Oratorian priests were coming here. And so I decided to come back here. And I recognized some of the faces, and it was like coming back home almost.
Good.
A beautiful community, individuals that I had met at other Latin Mass communities, and they had also started coming here. So for me, it was fulfilling a need that I felt stronger and stronger and me a need for community, for fellowship. So when Bob decided to organize this men's group, I was like, yes, here it is.
Bob, why did you start that men's group? That's great.
Well,
I mean, besides men and being leaders in their families and their parishes.
I like the guys. They're a very friendly group of guys.
Yeah,
They're very
for sure.
passionate about the faith. And then I was asked by one of the people who work here would you head that up? Because if she heard me talking about it, and apparently she went to Father and said, would you do this? So I said, sure. I kind of got it together, and I asked the then pastor what he thought, and he gave me his blessing, and we started from there.
And the priests here are Oratorians.
Oratorians of St. Philip Neri, yes.
Okay, it's not a religious order, but it's an oratory. It's a fellowship of priests who follow the teachings of St. Philip Neri. And if you want to know more about Philip Neri, go online. And the Italian saint, spectacular in the streets, spectacular with reaching out to people in the streets, the kids. That's how it started, and prayer was important. The Oratorians means a house of prayer, basically.
Yeah.
What did you find unique to the Oratorians here at the church, at this chapel?
They're not diocesan priests. They're not really an order, they're a group. And they're here in Raritan, so it's the Oratory of Raritan, okay? And there's other oratories, but they're not connected. They're independent of each other.
But the Oratorians here in this town are connected.
Yes, they're all in the same house.
Okay.
Okay. And it's voluntary, and
But they're all priests.
they're all Roman Catholic
Yeah.
priests, and they're tending to 4 parishes in the area. The bishop asked them to come in and do that. So they are answerable to the bishop, of course, but they're not diocesan priests.
Right.
They're independent.
Right.
To me, that was kind of strange because not only is it not an order, but other oratories are all independent of each other. And they come together once every few years. They have a meeting in Rome.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Which was the concept of St. Philip.
Yes.
That they remain in, but not of, the diocese.
No rules, right? No Benedictine rule. Talking to the public, teaching directly from the Bible to the public. During the Reformation, that was a real serious thing to try to do. And yeah, it was very, very different than most of the other saints of that time.
Okay, short and sweet. We started. We're going to continue. We met you, some of your philosophies, some of your theologies, and we wound up with the Oratorians. And we're going to pick up at that next segment. Is that right?
Okay.
Great.
This is Father Lou. We'll be right back with members of the men's group of the Blessed Sacrament Men's Club here in Raritan, New Jersey.
Yes.
Thank you.